Hello, today I'm going to show you how to set up a basic scene that we used in the previous video to demonstrate block coding. It's just going to be a very simple Pong game using the physics that is already built into Godot. So to start, I have the block code plugin installed just so we have access to some simple components that we can use in the game. And I'm going to make a new empty scene, and it's going to be a 2D scene. I'm just going to name it Pong game for now. And the first thing I want to do is add in a camera node, just so we can sort of set like the bounds of our game. That looks pretty good to me. So I'll save that as ponggame.scene. Actually, let's zoom out the camera a little bit, just so we have a little bit more space. All right, so now I think I want to add the paddles. So what I'm going to do is instantiate a new scene on the root node, and I'm going to add in a simple character, which comes packaged with our block code plugin. And this makes it really easy to drop in a texture. I'm going to load in the paddle texture. And now I just have this paddle here with this collision box already set for me, which is nice. I'm just going to make this the left paddle. I'm just going to duplicate it with Control D to make a right paddle. I will just drag that over here. And we could totally add our block code scripts onto these nodes to have them move around, but for now I'm just going to set up the scene. Next thing we want to do is probably add the ball. So what I'm going to do is just add a rigid body node in here, and I'm going to add a collision shape to it. That's what that little warning is saying. I need to have a collision shape for my rigid body. Just to see what I want the shape to be, I'm going to load in a sprite as well, which is going to be the ball sprite that we have included in the plugin. Great, so now I want to set the shape of this rigid body to be a circle. Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, it's not big enough right now, so I'm just going to drag it out to be the same size as the ball. Cool. I'm going to name this node ball and set a few settings on it. For one, we want the ball to be bouncy, so I'm going to give it a new physics material. I'll give it a bounce, 100% bounce, and 0% friction. And since we're sort of top down, we don't really want it to have gravity, so I'm going to set the gravity scale to 0. And that should be good. We do want to give it a little bit of initial velocity. So under the linear velocity tab, I'm just going to give it a default velocity. If we try to run this scene, we can see that the ball just flies off. So we want to give the ball some boundaries. Shouldn't be too hard. All we're going to do is add in a static body node and then give it some collision. I'm going to add a collision shape node to my static body. Just call this top wall. And I'm going to create a new rectangle shape. See if I can grab it here. Cool. And I just want to put this at the top of the game boundary. Cool. So now the ball should bounce off of this top wall. I'm going to duplicate this to make the bottom wall with Control D. Should just be able to drag this down here. Let's test that out real quick. And ball is bouncing around like we want, which is really good. There is one more thing we can add. Let's just go ahead and instantiate a new child scene, and we can add the simple scoring component, which also comes packaged with the block coding plugin. Okay, now that our simple scoring node is in the scene, what we want to do is make sure that it follows our viewport, and we want to give it a little bit of an offset just so it stays centered to our camera. So we want to do negative half of the width of our camera and negative half of the height of our camera. That should be perfectly centered. Now if we play the scene, we can see score nodes here, and the ball is bouncing around. And the last thing we should probably do is add some area 2Ds in for the goals for our ball. So I'm going to go to the root of the scene and add an area 2D node. And of course, we have to give this a collision shape, like all of the other physics objects in our game. And I will add a rectangle shape to this area 2D and drag it over to the left-hand side to make this the left goal. That looks about right. I'm going to name this the left goal, and I'm going to duplicate it, make the right goal, and just drag this collision shape away to the right. And that looks pretty good for our basic Pong game. The only thing left to do would be to come in and add some block coding nodes to these nodes to give them some functionality so that our Pong game can actually move, right? We want our paddles to move and the score to update. So that would be something to do with the block code nodes, which I have shown in the previous video. I hope you found this video useful for making your own little scenes to test out block coding, and thanks for watching.